Well, hello, all you happy people. How you doing? It is October 26th, I believe. Yeah, 4 o'clock here on the West Coast, 7 o'clock on the East. And let's talk some stuff. Let's talk some comics. Let's talk Fantastic Four. First steps. Mr. Nope, how you doing? And, I know, see what else you guys want to talk about. But I'll be here for close to an hour. You got the Dodger hat tonight, as they are in the World Series against the Toronto Blue Jays. I have been a Dodgers fan since I was a wee lad, sitting in my parents' dining room listening to the radio. We had one of those radios that had the record player and the cassette player. Actually, I think it was an 8-track at that time. And the radio on it, and I would tune into the Dodgers game, and I'd listen to Vin Scully on a summer afternoon describe all what he saw at Chavez Ravine. Yeah. And I remember growing up, and that was just awesome to me, the whole baseball thing. And I had my hat. Actually, I used to have one of those plastic fake batter helmets, and I'd wear it. And if the Dodgers were doing bad, I would take it off and I'd put it back on, trying to change luck. Or I'd turn it around and I'd wear it backwards. And yeah, turns out a lot of people do that. You see that nowadays. It's like, yeah, I was doing it when I was, 6, 7 years old. Yep, I used to listen when it was, let's see, Steve Garvey at first, Davey Lopes at second, Bill Russell at third, short, Ron Say at third, Steve Yeager behind the plate. They had various pitchers on the mound. The outfield was like Dusty Baker and Kenny Landreau, Rick Monday, stuff like that. So that was my Dodgers. Manny Mota was pinch hitting still. I got to see him pinch hit live once when I went to a game. Yeah, just so much fun growing up with the Dodgers. And again, baseball is not my main sport anymore. I'm more of a football guy. But I do still follow the Dodgers. I track them during the year. I don't listen to and watch as many games as I'd like, but I keep track. I look at the box score. I see how they're doing. I know the players. So go blue. I guess I should say Dodgers blue since it's also Toronto, but go Dodgers. And if you don't like the Dodgers because of the whole, the way they're doing the salary cap and stuff like that, well, just keep in mind your team could be doing that too. Your favorite team could be spending. I mean, every player on the Dodgers just now, a lot of them came from other teams, and it wasn't because, we stole them away. They were traded to us or let go, and we've signed them. So there's a lot of hatred for the Dodgers out there right now, but it's not fair. Also, since I do like to talk sports occasionally, this betting scandal thing over in the NBA. I don't know which one is worse. There's two of them, which is funny because they got both arrested at the same time. One was a coach who was the face of a mafia-led poker tournament or poker game. And while that's bad, I mean, I don't know if that's bad for the NBA necessarily. But then there's a player who faked an injury to bring his numbers down for an over-under. It's like, oh man, that's the tough one. But then every sport is have all these betting places as their sponsors now. So, all right, that's enough about sports. You guys don't come here to talk sports. You could, if you wanted to. I'd be happy to. I love sports. I have a favorite team in just about every sport. I'm, a Lakers fan. I'm a Kings fan. I gotta say I like Wrexham. I've been enjoying following Wrexham when it comes to soccer. That's about as close as I get to being a soccer or football fan. But All right. So what have I been doing this weekend? I've been working on Chaos Game. I got a good chapter in today or yesterday written. Really happy with that. I've been building a new set of Warhammer characters. This is Debbie's, excuse me, get in trouble for that. This is Lisa's army. This is part of her Seraphim Age of Sigmar army. And that guy was fun to build. This guy is just a teeny tiny little piece of, I don't think you can even see that very well. Look at that. That's not even as big as my, the first part of my finger. He was difficult. And he was in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces. You got to glue those little things together. So, all right. So that's what I've been doing this weekend, along with, like I said, writing. Really liked the chapter I got this weekend. It wasn't one I planned on writing, but I kind of woke up, went, I kind of need to cover this at this point. So yeah, let's see if that, and it came out really nice. So I think it's going to add to the story quite a bit. All right, so let's talk Fantastic Four First Steps. Now, it's funny, Braden, Lisa's son, he likes to talk movies with me and stuff. And he comes here and we watch all the movies together. He hasn't watched Fantastic Four yet, but he's always asking me, is there a Marvel movie that I like less than most people? And I didn't really have a good answer for that. Any kind of superhero movie really was what he was looking for. And mostly there's movies that people love that I'm like, okay, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, those are good. I enjoy them, but I don't love them. I don't put them above everything else like some people do. So that was as close as it was for a while. I do tend to defend a lot of movies, and I tend to like them a little more than others. Captain America, Brave New World, I liked probably better than most people did. Hey, Thomas, good to see you. But Fantastic Four First Steps is probably the first one that I look at the Rotten Tomato scores. I think they got like an 86 critic score and a 91 or a 93 audience score. And I don't see it. And it's not, I've seen a lot of people say why they did or didn't like the movie. And my feelings on it are a little different. I've heard people say, well, Pedro Pascal was miscast. He just played Pedro Pascal. And I didn't necessarily have a problem with Pedro. I thought he was all right. I really enjoyed the scene where he's talking to Franklin and he talks about how I'm not going to do any more tests. I'm not going to try to figure out who you are. I'm going to let you tell me who you are. And that felt very much like a dad moment. Vanessa Kirby, I thought, was fine as Sue Storm. I really liked the moment when she went out and addressed the crowd. I thought Ebon Moss-Baccarat was great as Ben Grimm. I thought that was great casting. Joseph Quinn, I actually liked his performance as Johnny. There was more depth and nuance than I've seen in the other characters. I thought they did, Galactus looked cool. I don't know why they needed a female Silver Surfer. It doesn't still, okay, so you needed an interest for Johnny. You could have done that any other way, but I didn't think that really added to it. But fine, she did. Julia Gardner did fine. Ralph Ineson is that. And I loved the little homages. I loved the little tie-in to the comics, Oh, hey, look, there's the Mole Man's creature, and oh, there's the Mole Man, and there's the Red Ghost apes and stuff like that. Um, but it took me a while. I watched it Friday night, and it wasn't until late last night that it finally clicked to me what it was that I didn't like about it, and why I think there's a lot of people out there that did like it. And I think it's because it's the way that some people consume content now. It almost feels like it was a movie made to mimic people who don't go to the movies. And this may not make sense, but I'll try to explain it. If the first montage, if this had been 2 regular movies, and then the first part was New Rockstar or Screen Crush or one of them doing their recap of the first movie, and the Ted Gilbert guy. And you know why he's called Ted Gilbert, right? We'll get back. He's Ted Gilbert because he's supposed to be playing Ed Sullivan. He's their version of Ed Sullivan. And Ted and Ed, there's a thing there. I think Ed Sullivan's real name is Ted or something. I don't know. I don't remember. I made that connection, but the reason he's Gilbert is because of Gilbert and Sullivan. The Pirates of Penzance. They went, we've got Sullivan, so we'll just name him Gilbert over here. Okay, so if his little montage before his show was the Screen Crush or New Rockstars recap of a movie, then the rest of the movie was the people who don't go to the movies. They wait until you can see the best scenes on YouTube or TikTok, where you cut out all the rest of the stuff. Because that's what it felt like to me. We had the little opening montage, which recapped everything up to that point. And it was basically, if there had been a previous movie, that would have been all the thing. We would have seen the Mole Man fight. We would have seen them go up against Red Ghost. We would have seen all that stuff. But we didn't. They spent all that time telling us. And that's a big no-no as a writer, is show, don't tell. Show people what was going on. And even though they gave us little moments, they were telling us everything. And it's like, so that didn't sit well with me. But then we get Silver Surfer's first appearance, or her showing up to the Earth. And then we get them going out to find Galactus. And then we get Galactus showing up. We don't get the stuff in between. We get moments of that, and that's all handled in vignettes. Like, oh, here's Reed trying to figure it out, and here's this, here's that. Here's Ben going out in the streets and stuff. They didn't tell us a story. They just kind of kept recapping things and showing us scenes. And that's how it felt to me. It didn't feel like a movie. It felt like, I mentioned her earlier, my ex, Debbie. She knows all about Game of Thrones, but she never watched the show. Because what she did was she'd watch the recaps. Hey, we're dopes. How you doing, man? So she would watch the recap videos, and she'd watch the scenes, and she'd know what was going on. And that's kind of what we got. We got the recap of what happened before, and then we got the highlight scenes. But we didn't get the in-between stuff. We got a lot of winks and nods, like, oh, these two standing here inside the office that's obviously making comics. They're Stan and Jack. Oh, look, Latveria wasn't there when the Future Foundation was found, and everybody got rid of their weapons. But we didn't get any of the story. So, and even when we had those moments of characterization with Ben and Johnny and that, they really weren't together. They were like these individual moments. Hey, Kyle. Oh, okay. Hey, Ed. So yeah, that's my major problem with the Fantastic Four movie is it's not a movie. They just put together a bunch of scenes and recaps and went, here you go. And I think they did it on purpose because they're like, well, we already know the Fantastic Four. We know their origins. We don't need to do this. And I kind of disagree. I was talking to Lisa after we watched the movie, and she did not like it at all. She thought it was boring. And I could see that because, again, there's no through story. There's no continuing story. There's no, there's no arc. It's just scenes. And, she's like, they're not bad. It's not Batman. We haven't seen the Waynes die 97 times. We maybe you watched the Fox ones before, or maybe you watched the reboot, and they didn't need to go into the whole origin thing, but they could have just given us one complete story, and instead they took this huge concept, and that was what they focused around, but we never got time to care about them as characters. Yeah. It's a kind of a boring movie. And I think the reason that some people like it is not because it was a good movie or anything like that. It's because we as comic fans can connect the dots. When we saw that monster coming up out of the ground, we knew that was Mole Man's monster. We knew that when Red Ghost and his awesome apes or whatever it is attacked, we knew that was supposed to be John Malkovich. We knew who Red Ghost was. We made all those connections because of our history and knowing the comics. And if you didn't have that, then it was just like watching it on YouTube, And I'm not sure how that would be interesting. And like I said, for Lisa, it wasn't. For Amy, it wasn't. And so I look at the Rotten Tomato score, and I don't get it, This was... I won't say it's the worst MCU movie. Because, there's a lot of cool things in it. And, of course, I do have that history. I do know all that connective stuff. So, in a way, I did get enjoyment out of it. But it wasn't a full story, And that bugged me. I thought Ben looked great. I thought the Thing looked great. It was weird to me that he was constantly in a suit. That seemed strange to me, that he was constantly in clothing and stuff. And I guess I was supposed to be okay with that, but, it just seemed weird. And it says, I wasn't impressed with it either. I didn't hate it, but I wasn't happy with it. It seemed like a loose recap of the Fox movies with a reboot. I was disappointed. Yeah, see, that's what I was saying. And maybe you weren't here when I first started this, Ed, but I talked about how it felt like it was a Screen Crush or a new Rockstar recap at the start of it. And then we're just getting the big scenes. We're getting the three major scenes. Silver Surfer comes to Earth. Fantastic Four goes and finds Galactus. Galactus comes back. There really wasn't a whole lot of things in between that, you know? There was a couple of moments, but it's like, oh, well, there's this potential love interest for Ben. Why was a potential love interest? He saw her like twice. They didn't go out. They didn't go do anything. We didn't spend any time with him on the date. We didn't spend time with him being melancholy or that. We didn't see Johnny, any of his issues. We barely got to see Reed and Sue together to really build up a relationship. Yeah, I agree with that right there, where he said that about Johnny being intelligent instead of just a horn dog. Yeah, I did like that. So I like these characters. I like the people that played them. And I look forward to them popping up in the Avengers movies. But I wanted a movie. I didn't want to just see the highlights. You know? Does that make sense? Is anybody else kind of getting that? Or am I missing it? First thing, did anybody on here see the movie and went, it was great? It's exactly what I wanted. You know, who are the people, anybody on here who are in that group that helped make it a 91 audience score? That's what I want to know. It's where is that? I don't know. And again, I wanted to love it. I wanted to love this because the Fantastic Four, I won't say they're one of my favorites because they've never been one of my favorites, you know, in the comics. But I have always enjoyed them. And I wanted this to be good, but if I was going to, you know, sit down and show somebody a movie that's supposed to give them an idea who the Fantastic Four are, I'd probably go all the way back to the Michael Chiklis, Ian Griffin, Jessica Alba, Chris Evans one. The first one. The second one, But it's almost like you could have taken the two original Fox movies, recap the first one, pull scenes from the second one, and have the exact same movie. The only thing difference is we got a real Galactus. Mr. Nope agrees. Ed agrees. He also says, it also left me scratching my head because it didn't tie into the post-credit scene in Thunderbolts. I found that odd. Yeah. I don't know what that is about either. Maybe that's... I thought they were going to end up in our universe at the end. You know, I thought they were going to make that connection, but they didn't. Or when they did the move the planet, you know, maybe that accidentally put their planet in the same one as ours. I mean, there was potential there, but they didn't do any of that. So I don't know. I mean, and you notice that all of Reed's stuff worked. Yeah, it knocked the power out, but the transport, there was no failed attempt. There was no, you know, oh, we moved the egg, but the egg was raw when we sent it. And it was, you know, cooked when we got it back because of the heat. Or Thomas says, does it need to connect? We are a few months out from the next Marvel film. I think because there was yeah. I mean, if you look at the ship in the Thunderbolts extra credit scene or post credit scene, it's not the same as the Excelsior in the movie. So I think it's a later ship. There's a slight design difference. I think there's like one more fin on the one in the Thunderbolts movie than there is on the Excelsior. But, you know, the fact that it came out beforehand made people think it was going to connect, and it didn't. And I think that's confusing. A lot of the post-credit scenes right now are getting a really negative reaction to Marvel because they do so many of them that don't pay off. I mean, have we seen Hercules anywhere? There's a lot of them that just don't pay off. I haven't seen Star Fox. Blade? The Black Knight? Did the Ten Rings return anywhere? I mean, that's just a couple of the recent examples, too. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Fantastic Four. What did you guys think? I mean, you seem to be agreeing with me, but I like I said, I liked the casting. I liked Pedro and Evan and Vanessa and again, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in the Avengers movies. I just expected so much more. I mean, Matt Shackman, the guy did WandaVision, but then again, had he ever done a movie before? So, I don't know. I don't want to hate, I don't want to be disappointed in these movies. Growing up with comics and dealing with so many years of horrible adaptations. I mean, I'm 55 years old. I grew up with Captain America on a motorcycle with a clear partly clear shield that worked as a windscreen on his bike, and he wore a motorcycle helmet. I grew up with a Spider-Man that wore the webbings on the outside of his gloves, and I grew up with a Hulk that wore flip-flops and a Daredevil that wore an all-black suit and was played by Rex Smith. Those are my characters. I got a Doctor Strange that had a worse perm than I don't know, Greg Brady. I've seen all the bad interpretations, and we got to the point where we idolized decent ones. The Christopher Reeve Superman. People talk about it like it's the greatest thing ever, but it's kind of it's a little cringy to watch nowadays. Michael Keaton's Batman. There's some problems with it. It's still better than what we were getting, but we look now, we get Matt Reeves as Batman. We get, James Gunn's Superman. And you compare them directly, these are so much better movies, quality-wise, make-wise, adhering to the character but we nitpick them apart now. Because we've had so many good ones for so long. And then Marvel puts this out. The best Marvel movie of the year was Thunderbolts. And that had some issues too. See, Thomas, I disagree with you on that. I love the Batman. And that is probably my favorite take on the Batman so far. So, but I get it. I get that it all depends on what your Batman is. I mean, you look in the comics and there's so many different variations of Batman. And this is going to lead into the other topic I was going to hit tonight anyway, but, is your Batman the 60s or the 50s or the detective? Is it the Frank Miller version? Everybody has their different Batman. just like everybody has their different Superman. Some people look at what Zack Snyder did and went, "Oh my God, that's the best thing ever," and other people look at it and went, "That's not Superman. That's just the guy pretending to be a god." My Superman is more humble, is more down to earth, like David Cornsweet or Christopher Reeves, or so I can understand that from that point of view. That we can look at these movies and have this is the best, the worst, whatever. But Fantastic Four, it wasn't a matter of interpretation of the characters. It was the fact that it just wasn't a movie. So, but talking about Batman, I saw something that, and this will come back around, that I didn't get. I did not understand. Okay, see, Thomas, there you go. You can't stand the Man of Steel, but loves James Gunn's new take on Superman. There you go. That's more your Superman. Now, I enjoyed Man of Steel when I watched it, but I don't enjoy it as much when I rewatch it, and it doesn't feel like the Superman I like. I absolutely love James Gunn's take on it and have watched it multiple times since it came out. But again, to each its own. It's what your preference is. But, I saw an interpretation of, I think it's the ultimate version of Daredevil. And he's got like this little mask here, and then it's wide open around the neck. And it looked horrible. And I thought, okay, here's some guy on Twitter doing his version in his art style. We get that all the time. It's like, no, those are real pages. I'm like, wow, I'm glad I'm not buying the Ultimate comics. Wasn't a fan of their design of Hawkeye. And then I look over at DC, where the big trend right now are the absolute books. And I tried them. I absolutely did. I've got them here, I think. Somewhere here. Yep, Absolute Wonder Woman. And I have the other ones. I have the Absolute Batman, the Absolute Superman. Oh, there's the Absolute Superman. So I tried them. And I hated them. Didn't get them. Did not understand them. Don't know why they're doing them. I don't know why Batman is suddenly supposed to be this giant brute with a battle axe on his chest. I don't know what they're doing with it, and it's not for me. Thomas says, I agree with the fact that Donner's Superman is the end-all and be-all of Superman film because it gets it right. And Ed says, Gunn's Superman has been the movie of the year for me so far. That's not even a close second. I agree with you. Yeah, Superman's been my favorite superhero movie of the year so far. Now,
want to share with flowers?
Oh, you want to show them?
Yeah.
Lisa's taken up a new hobby. She is doing flower arranging, and this is one of the bouquets she did today.
So we've got the Halloween one.
Yep, she did this one for Halloween. So
Mom really likes it.
She wanted to share that with you guys.
Yeah, fun new hobby.
Yep, so new hobby. She got up at 6:30 in the morning to go to the flower market and spent a couple hours down there, came home, and just spent a chunk of time yesterday, and she's doing more now. So I think that's awesome. I love the fact that she is getting the hobby. And that's why I was building her figures this weekend. That's for her army, because she's focused on that. I figured I'll build these for her, and then I'll start on mine. I will let her know that you guys like them. Thank you guys. So, but all right. So, Absolute Batman, Absolute Superman. And I realized that, and this may be me just getting old and the old get off my lawn thing. But I am so tired of all these writers and stuff coming in and trying to change the characters. Reboot, redo, completely change, completely switch it around, and it's like, can't you come in and tell just a good story with the character? These characters have been around for decades. I mean, Superman, what is it, 80, 90 years? It's going to be 90 years soon on Superman. 85 years so far. You can't take a character that survived for 85 years and write a good story with him without having to change him, having to change his basic makeup. And I'm not talking like, well, James Gunn changed the way that the Kent, not the Kents, the Jor-El is portrayed, because that's a tweak, that's an interpretation, and it didn't really change the character. If anything, it emphasized the importance of the Kents more. Nature versus nurture. It just changed that slightly. This is, I heard somewhere that they said, well, the absolute universe is a universe without hope. So everything is born out of chaos. And it's like, why? What's wrong with hope? If anything, that's what the new Superman movie has brought back, is hope. Do we need less hope? Do you turn on the news and think, oh, it's so hopeful out there, we need to calm that down a bit? Or do you look at the mess in the world and go, how the hell are we going to get out of this? How do we survive all this? I don't want to think about it anymore. I'm going to go read a comic book. I'm going to go watch a movie. Well, do you want escapism or do you want a reminder? So that's the thing. It says, maybe that's my problem too, Dan, because I don't get the absolute either. What not just make new characters if you want to do that. I read the first issue of all of them and didn't like any of them. Same here. Exactly. It says, I like that they didn't kill off Pa Kent and found it intriguing that the House of L was so squeaky clean. The end scene with him watching the Kents as his new family video to relax him was perfect. Plus, think about this. Superman is an orphan. How disrespectful is it to his parents that raised him? Is it to deify his birth parents? And he becomes all obsessed with them. I like the fact that there's more balance, that the Kents are more, have more importance now, Thomas says, what kills me about the storyline, it's nothing new. It's just took a scene on the big screen and people to see it. Smallville told us that years ago. Yeah, it's not the first time someone made that tweak. I think there's a couple storylines that make the Kryptonians a little different, a little more aggressive. But also, and I've talked about this before, but think about it from Jor-El's point of view. He is looking at Earth, and to them, we're kind of primitive. We're violent. We're warlike. We don't get along with each other. We're destroying our planet, just like Krypton did. And he's sending his son And he's telling him, take over. Go there and straighten them out. And he doesn't say, kill everybody. They say basically, kill the ones that disagree with you. Okay, that's horrible. But at the same time, if you're sending your child to a place, don't you want your child to have the best life he can? They're saving him in the first place, and they're sending him to a planet where he's going to be more powerful than everybody else. They're encouraging him to make the planet better. And I say better because I guess I'm still watching the news too much. The world's kind of a mess. And the fact that he gets involved with a war to trying to save people. You know, what's the big line is people were going to die. That was his motivation. It wasn't because he wanted these people to rule, those people to rule, whatever. He had no greed. He had no malice intent. He just didn't want people to die. You know, I guess I don't see it so black and white with Jarrell and the House of L and all that. You know, I think if we were, a world like in Star Trek where everybody's come together and we're working together as a planet, then maybe they'd be like, yeah, go there, help out, be good. But if you're going to a place that has evil, has greed, has serial killers, child molesters, all this other stuff, and you're sending your son who's going to be the most powerful person on the planet, aren't you going to go, yeah, fix it. Straighten them out. Get yourself some help by having children. I mean, yeah, it's a horrible thing when you think about it from an outside point of view, but from a parental point of view, would you do any different? If it was your son and you were sending him off, your daughter? It says, for me, the Superman movie was a come to life. It was fun and told a story where the other movies just made movies of characters from comics instead of bringing a comic to life like Gunn did. Yeah. That's been my main description of the movie, is it feels like I walked into a comic shop, picked up the latest issue of Superman off the shelf, and I went, oh, here's a little recap. 300 years ago, 3 years ago, 3 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago, he lost his first fight. Okay, and go. And I feel like Fantastic Four tried to do something similar, but they forgot the part of and go, and they just kept kind of going, well, here's the scene, where Superman went, it's from this point forward, we tell this story. And this is the story we're telling. We're not telling this story, we're telling this story. You know? And I think that's why it kind of really worked for me, where Fantastic Four didn't. Thunderbolts worked for me because, yeah, we didn't get all the backstory and all the characters, and yeah, they killed off one of them really quickly, but we got the time to know the characters, to meet them, to see them interact. We see them become close. They become kind of this found family. And in a lot of ways, Bob is the reason they become a found family, because they all connect to Bob differently and through him to each other. And that's why I think that movie works. You know, it almost feels like they're spending so much time trying to build universes and build spectacle that they're not telling the stories at the heart. They're not focusing on the hearts of the characters. But they did that in Thunderbolt and it worked. They did that in Superman and it worked. And in a lot of ways, they did that in Peacemaker season 2. And I think that's why there's a lot of people up in arms about it. But when you get down to it, Peacemaker season 2 was really good. And, James Gunn said that it was the finale was one of the favorite things he's ever done. Well, James Gunn is a guy who tells character stories. Look at the Guardians of the Galaxy. The final episode of Guardians of the Galaxy, everybody thought, oh, all these people are going to die and all this stuff. And no, nobody died. But there was conclusions to their stories, and they went separate directions. The characters completed their journeys that were set up in the 3 movies. That's storytelling. That's not killing someone to get to emotional reaction or focusing on, well, where are they going to show up next or whatever. I think that's what James Gunn does best is he gets you to care about these characters, and he tells you, he completes a story arc. And yeah, some of them die. Some don't. Some don't need to. Look at what he did with Suicide Squad. You started caring about those characters because of their interactions, the way they were portrayed. You started liking King Shark and Polka Dot Man and Ratcatcher 2. It's just kind of funny that way. When somebody focuses on characters and letting you learn who they are and showing what they're capable of and stuff, you get connected to the characters. People, the other thing people are upset about with Peacemaker is, well, there's not going to be a season 3. Doesn't need to be. Peacemaker went from being the a-hole guy to being someone who can actually care about other people, that can connect to other people. His story arc is complete. Now, character arc is complete. What's happening next to them is going to be played out in other places. They've trademarked the film name Salvation Run. What do you think that's going to be about? Probably the planet that Peacemaker is on. And it's based off of a JLA miniseries called Salvation Run, and it's set up for that. We're probably going to follow Checkmate now. Why keep calling it Peacemaker when it's about all the people that work at Checkmate? So just because James Gunn didn't come out and say, oh, there's a 3rd season of Peacemaker, he's not done with those characters. He's got more to tell with them. But it just doesn't need to be in a 3rd season of Peacemaker. How funny is it that Bob from Top Gun Maverick was Bob in Thunderbolts? I saw an interview with him, and he said he loved the character, but asked, does he have to be named Bob? Yeah, but yeah, that is funny. I think he should only take parts from now on where he plays Bob. I think he should only play Bob. Remake of What About Bob? Get him. Just down the line, just everything he's in is Bob. So, all right, I've kind of rambled a bit. Anything you guys have questions about? Anything we talked about, or anything else coming up? I saw today that the David Cornsweet Superman suit has been taken out of where it was on display, and a sign went up saying that the suit is currently out being used for production. And it doesn't seem like they'd have the suit yet for Man of Tomorrow. So just saying, maybe. I see Jeremy Renner is talking about Hawkeye Season 2 in a much more positive way right now. And maybe we'll finally get that. Maybe we'll get that raid type series that they wanted to do. I would love that. Ed asked, how are my legs? For those who don't know, I've been having some medical issues with my legs for the last couple of years. I had cellulitis. It was I don't want to say poorly diagnosed, but The insurance company jerked me around for about 6 months before I ended up in the emergency room, and ended up. So now I regularly go to a wound care center. Uh, they are still improving slowly, regularly. Um, I could see in the next few months, hopefully, the left leg being completely healed and not having to have treatment on it anymore. The right leg has got further to go, but it is definitely so much better than it was 3 years ago when this all started. So, um, still having issues staying in the seat. It's like every time you guys see me shifting around and stuff, that's because my legs. I have a hard time staying in one spot for too long, which makes it hard writing. When you're sitting there writing and all of a sudden you got to go, yeah, I know I'm in the middle of a sentence, but I've got to move. Okay. So, but thanks for asking, Ed. How are you doing, Ed? How's your back? I know you're recovering. You broke your back, didn't you, Ed? That was what. That's kind of serious. Let me know how you're doing, Ed. And how's everybody else doing? Uh, by the way, I'm not sure what we'll talk about next week, but I will do my best to be here. If you guys have things you want me to talk about, hit me up on Facebook, hit me up on Twitter or any social media place, or on YouTube, and let me know. Send a message like, on YouTube, comment on here saying, hey, next week, can you talk about this? I'm hearing talk about Dinosaur Island as in the Green Lantern movie. Broken ribs here. Oh, damn, Mr. Nope. Ouch. I hope they get better quick. So yeah, if you guys want me to talk about Dinosaur Island or something more esoteric like history of the Charlton characters, or I don't know, you tell me and we can help drive this show. It says, not well, I have a long road ahead. Oh man, broke 2 vertebrae in my back and they cemented them together, but not doing too well. Oh, brother, if there's anything I can do to help, I know you got a bunch of stuff, but if you run out of reading, let me know. Maybe I can help get you some more stuff to read. Just, anything I can do, let me know. All right. And I'm thinking about you, man. I'd say I'd be praying for you. I'm not that religious of a person, but I am sending good thoughts. And to you, Mr. Nope, as well. I hope your ribs heal up quickly. So let's heal up together, guys. Send positive vibes to each other. All right. So, all right, guys. I think I am gonna wrap it up there. I know the dinner is just about ready. Crockpot. We're doing potato and sausages tonight, so looking forward to that. Thank you for tuning in. Like I said, give me anything you want me to talk about. Let me know. I am doing better, trying to get better. This is a better time zone for me. So if it works for you guys, let me know. For now, I'm going to keep it here. And I will see you next week. So you guys take care. Love y'all. Have a good night. Be safe. And remember, go Dodgers. Yeah, I had to say that.